Hello, my name is Michelle, and I'm here today to share my ongoing journey with mycosis fungoides, cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. So my journey, really unbeknownst to me, began in my early 20s while I was still an undergraduate. I recall a small rash developing on my trunk area. It was round, about the size of a golf ball. It was itchy, more of an irritant. I recall going to the student health center at that time. I was given a cortisone cream and told to come back if it worsened. So at that time, as small as it was, the cortisone actually did well to alleviate the itching at that point. As time progressed, because it was on my trunk behind me, I really didn't notice it that much, but my patches started to grow. Um, I had annual physicals, PCPs. I always brought it up, and it was looked on as eczema. So I went through several rounds of different types of steroids over the years. I saw two dermatologists, not specifically for my patches, but more for other issues. And then since I'm here, can you take a look at this? And every time a clinician looked at it, it usually led to me having more steroids, topical steroids. And so using those steroids really didn't have an impact on my patches. It didn't help the itching. It didn't change the size, the coloration of my patches. So in my mind, I just took this as eczema. I have to learn how to live with it and figure out how I was going to manage this on a go-forward basis. As the years started progressing, my oldest patch got to be I don't know, about four inches wide, 6 inches long. It became raised and crusty. And if I kept scratching it, I learned very early on to leave it alone. Don't scratch it, because as I did, it would just become more irritated and more ornery. I tried a variety of lotions and creams and baths, and they all just did not do well for me. They would burn my skin and just make it more irritated. What I did find that worked for me if I used it consistently was Aquaphor. I would just rub it over the affected areas every night, and it would keep my skin supple. It didn't change the size of the spots. It didn't eliminate the spots. It just kept them manageable, and we cohabitated for the next 20 years or so. There was a correlation that I found with my patches that when I was in dry, arid climates, I'm from Los Angeles, trips to Las Vegas, predictably, I knew my patches were going to flare up and become very angry and irritated. So I always made it a point to apply my Aquaphor while I was traveling. I consistently today even always have Aquaphor in my bag. I don't travel without it. I'm a big proponent of using Aquaphor just because it's worked for me. And that's how I've lived with my skin issues to date. So we hop forward to the summer of 2022. This is the post-pandemic era. My patches have there more of them, but they've stayed localized on my trunk. In the summer of 2022, I contracted COVID. It was a 3-day stint. I felt very ill the first day and then gradually improved over the next 2 days. And then I was past the infection. Within the 6 months after I got COVID, so between June to December of 22, I noticed that I had spots running down the backs of my thighs and traveling up my back. So this was definitely concerning for me. The patches that I had were so slow moving and not moving at all. They just were always with me. Having something new pop up was very concerning. Happened to be having dinner with some friends, and we get together and commiserate about our various skin afflictions. And I shared with them, what was going on with me. I even shared with them a picture of my, I call it my oldest patch as it stood. It was an angry red looking patch, but with the Aquaphor, it was smooth to the touch. It didn't hurt. It looked painful, but it wasn't. And one of my friends called out, yeah, you need to see a dermatologist. You need to demand that somebody perform a biopsy. That, you don't know what it is. It could be eczema, it could be psoriasis, it could be a fungus. Who knows what it is? And unless you biopsy it, you're never going to get a definitive answer. And light bulb went off in the head, and I just realized, yes, I need to advocate for myself. And now that things are changing and spreading, like what the heck is going on? So I was very lucky to find a dermatologist and get an appointment. Called on Monday, was able to see the dermatologist on Friday. She took a look, was unable to discern what it was. And to be on the safe side, she ended up taking 3 biopsies at that time. 2 weeks later, I go in to have my sutures removed, and I just recall her walking into the room with the pathology report and basically said the findings are conclusive. You have mycosis fungoides cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. And at that time, I really didn't catch what she said. The word lymphoma is the only thing that I caught. And then she said a bunch of other words. I'm going to pause so I can get it together. So she shared the diagnosis with me. It was a sentence worth, a mouthful of words. I didn't really know what it was. My mind starts racing. She starts talking about that she has seen this before. She has a patient that she's currently treating for CTCL. And kept talking about this light box. We can get you into a light box, topical steroids. And it was just a lot of information, and it was difficult for me to follow. At that point, she referred me to a specialist here in Los Angeles at the City of Hope. I went through the process of orientation and becoming a new patient. And ultimately, it took about 4 weeks before I was able to see the specialist. And of course, here I've been diagnosed with lymphoma, and you can't see me for 4 weeks. My mind is racing. And luckily, I found the foundation's website. And there's just so much information on the website that is factual, it is tangible. It was something that I could digest and better understand what was floating around here before I was able to see my specialist. And so in trying to think what I could do in the interim before I was able to get into the specialist, I ended up doing my afternoon sunning sessions. So this was in the February timeframe. So in Los Angeles, we have sunny weather. I was able to take a break during work and lay out in the sun. And interestingly enough, the newer patches that I had, the ones that had spread down my legs and up my back, reacted fairly quickly. You could see that those white patches then started developing little pigmented spots in them. So they were reacting very well to the sun exposure. So hop forward, I'm able to see my specialist. She obtained the previous biopsy block from the initial dermatologist and confirmed that what she also saw was characteristic of MF. At that time, I was staged as mycosis fungoides 1A. And she started me on a treatment plan of clobetasol, Valchlor, and narrowband UVB 3 times a week. So that's where this all began. So I got home. The days where I was not applying the Valchlor, I would apply the clobetasol, again with the steroids. And I wasn't too confident with the steroids because I've been down that route before, but I followed the plan as prescribed. And then I embarked on my 3 times a week sessions of the narrowband UVB. I ended up having to shop for a dermatologist's office that had a light box on premise. I found one that was within a 5-mile radius of where I live. So wherever I could get my time slots in on their schedule, I had my UVB treatments done. So that took me from about February to, I would say, July-ish. The newer spots that I had, the more recent ones that were from, in my mind, I believe, woken up by my COVID infection, started to resolve and disappear. The older spots that were centralized on my trunk were much more stubborn. It took a good 6 months of the Valclor and the narrowband UVB application before I actually saw improvement in those spots. And so all the while I'm seeing my specialist every, 2 to 3 months. I think I've had 9 biopsies to date, and I'm probably going to have another one this coming month. So there's definitely things about this journey that I don't know how much I was really that prepared for until I experienced it myself. There was the initial shock, right? Just hearing the scary lymphoma word and seeing doing the what everybody recommends that you don't do is Googling, seeing these photos on the internet and things that could be, may not necessarily be now, and not really having a full grasp of what was going on. So now at this point, I have responded very well to treatment. I've obtained my own light panel. So my UVB therapy, I actually do at home now as opposed to going in office. A couple of tips that I learned along the way was I wish somebody would have shared that I could cover my hair. I had a lot of damage and breakage to my hair as a result of the UVB. So now I cover that. I go in before my panel with sunscreen on my face and on my hands. I don't have any spots there, so I'm okay to cover those areas. So there were little like tidbits that I wish I had looked into or somebody had shared with me at the front end so that I could be aware of certain things that might happen on the back end. Fatigue is something that I experienced after my my UVB sessions. I actually asked my primary dermatologist at the time, and I got a befuddled look that no, we don't have anybody complaining of that. And so where I ended up finding the community that I didn't know I needed was again through the foundation. So through monthly networking sessions that are Zoom based, I was able to talk to other individuals with this, dealing with issues pertaining to cutaneous lymphoma, people in different states, the newbies, the ones who've been dealing with it for decades, the ones in between, those who've experienced remissions and flare-ups and escalations and plateaus. I was just able to be exposed to such a wide variety of experiences and validations in the, the fatigue that I was experiencing that my derm, looked at me like I was a little nutty. So this journey will probably not end, and I continue on it. I'm currently seeing my dermatologist on about a 4-month cadence. We're dealing with the spot that recently popped up on my face. And so we're talking about radiation treatment because it's so close to my eye. Overall, though, things are looking very good. It's a very positive outlook. And that's ultimately what I've tried to keep on this journey, is to stay as positive as possible. This looks very different. That's another thing I learned, is how different this illness manifests itself in those who it afflicts. What works for some may not work for others. So, as much as I love my Aquaphor may not be the solution for everybody. As with steroids don't work for me, but they are a blessing to others. So it's really sort of a game of trying to find that right cocktail and managing the noise of knowing that you have this type of illness that you will never be cured from, but should really seek to manage as best as possible. So that's my journey. I'm still fairly new. I was only diagnosed about 1.5 years. So the route that I progressed through, though it started over 25 years ago, knowingly, I haven't started an active management of my journey into the last 1.5 years. And so now I know what to look for. I have a sense of what to expect. So things are much calmer than they were originally 1.5 years ago. So keeping that positive attitude and vigilance as you move on is probably the best recommendation that I can give. And find your community. Those networking sessions are valuable. So that's my story. I am continuing to embark on this path that I've been set forth on. And I really like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my experience thus far. Hopefully we can touch base in the future where I can share my learnings as we move forward. Thank you.